So today in this video, I wanted to kind of just give you guys an update on my plans for my UI going into midnight and what I've been working on. So I did a video yesterday, and of course, people have been asking me about my UI, which I've been playing mostly base for the majority of beta. So most of my beta videos, if you've ever been wondering about my UI, it was basically just base UI. But I have now started to experiment with add-ons since add-ons seem to be much more stable. Now have like a launch candidate build for beta, so we're now not seeing as many updates to kind of any APL restrictions, stuff like that. So add-ons aren't breaking as much, which is good. And so I want to mostly talk about my center components right here, and I'll briefly mention some of the other add-ons as well. And everything I'm going to talk about in this video will be linked below in terms of the add-ons and their links on CurseForge. I'm not going to have any export or import strings, or export strings, I guess, in this video because everything is still kind of like under construction, I'd say. But I do want to just like talk about what I'm working on and like my thought process behind everything. So as anyone who's been watching my channel for a while and has watched me do keys and watched me play it on stream, I used to use a WeakAuras package that I kind of constructed over the years and had finely tuned to cater to like my play style and how I needed help. I think there's things that add-ons do that add-ons will always be able to do that Blizzard can never really combat. I know that they don't want there to be a competitive advantage, but even things like proc glows, subtle things like cooldown swipes can actually go a long way in showing a player what they should be hitting next and how to optimize the rotation. And these are things that WeakAuras did a really good job at. For example, and I'm going to probably have footage showing now from like what my old WeakAura is. I think peripheral vision is a really strong kind of like tool. I don't even know if tool is the right word to use here, but basically I used to have my abilities that were on cooldown be totally blacked out. So I wouldn't be able to see, I mean, I knew what the ability was and the location it was at, but because it was a little black box, I was able to focus on combat. And using peripheral vision, I would know that, okay, my blackout kick is available, or I have a Kex match available, or my Breath of Fire reset, or I have the CD available. And everything else, because it was blacked out, my eyes and my periphery wouldn't get distracted by different icons and colors. And that's one thing that my WeakAura helped me with. I'm pretty comfortable with the rotation, and I'm generally pretty good at knowing this stuff now, but like as I was learning Brewmaster, I found this to be a very helpful tool, and I heard from a lot of you guys that who used it that also found it really helpful. Anyways, that was like a long rant about my WeakAura, but basically I wanted to recreate it as best I could using add-ons. Now, the two main add-ons you're seeing in the center of my screen, it's ArcUI, which is basically an editorial on the cooldown manager, and then I am using a add-on called MidnightSimpleUnitFrames. Now, this is a fairly newer-ish add-on, or a less popular add-on, but I think it works really well. As of now, at the time of recording this, it has about 100,000 downloads, which is pretty good, and it's been getting regular updates. I'm hoping it continues seeing updates throughout the course of beta and going into midnights. If not, I might actually default to maybe another more popular, more maintained unit frame add-on, but I really like the look and the ability to customize the simple unit or the midnight simple unit frames. So all I've really done with this is I have gone ahead and I've added like this centralized bar in the middle of my screen. So nothing super crazy here. So as I pop open edit mode, you can see you can edit all of the different boss auras over here. Oops, I actually just accidentally dragged these. You can edit your positioning with your focus, the cast bar, your primary target, the target of targets. I have pet bar down here as well, which I've actually been meaning to move because this is whenever I summon my Black Ox. Having this is actually good, even though I could technically get rid of it because I don't really care that much. But as you can see, then you can actually like tweak the horizontal positioning, the vertical positioning, the width, the heights, the text that are being shown, and the positioning of said text. This is all really, really good. I'm not going to spend any more time really talking about it, though, as basically what I did is I put a bar in the middle of my screen. Nothing too crazy. I've always liked having a health bar in the middle of my screen underneath my character because this is where my eyes are naturally going to be while in combat. I'm focused on the center of my screen where I'm not really wanting to look over here and up here and at the mobs and potentially down here. I want to try to rein things in. And so that's why I have it here, essentially. So on top of obviously the unit frame, I have gone ahead and I've used ArcUI. I think ArcUI is really great because it allows you to not just organize and add a lot of different like weird, I don't want to call conditionals, but like you have a lot of editing power over like everything from, I guess we'll click on Keg Smash, for example. Like you have a lot of editing power over things like the cooldown animation, adding a finish flash, adding cooldown text, adding the charges, positioning the charge count so you know what you're doing, like the fonts and everything like that. Saturation versus desaturation, and all of these nice little things, adding global cooldowns. It's all really nice. And so I like ArcUI a lot because of these things. What I also like about it is you can add additional bars. So not just your essential, your utility, and your buff bar like you get from the regular Blizzard cooldown manager, but you can just add new groups and you can put these groups wherever you want. So while it's not a perfect replica of like what WeakAuras was, it can do actually some pretty powerful stuff. So I've been liking ArcUI a lot. I think it's a little bit further ahead than some of the other cooldown manager skins that you can get currently, though I have been hearing great things about a couple of them. I've just kind of landed on using ArcUI because I like its customization. Anyways, once I actually come over to combat, the way that it's working is it's going to be anything that I do end up using. Unfortunately, you can't, like I said before about my WeakAuras pack, I can't make the ability to just turn black or like get really grayed out, but I can have it get desaturated. So as I use Blackout Kick, it's not only going to have a black cooldown swipe, but it's also going to be desaturated, which helps my peripheral vision where I don't necessarily have to stare at this bar or down here. I can focus on what's important, which are the mechanics, what's going on, or even just my health bar. And using my peripheral vision to tell like, oh, okay, I don't have Breath of Fire right now. I only really have Tiger Palm to hit, so let me just make sure I'm filling. Now, there are a few things that are not working properly. For example, if in this, it's hard to notice, but if I have 2 charges of Keg Smash, right now I've emptied the barrel, it's not going to show a cooldown swipe. But if I use a second one, it will show the cooldown. But if I get a reset, it's going to keep that cooldown swipe there for a little bit, which I'm not a big fan of. It doesn't update necessarily that dynamically, which is annoying unless you're like kind of paying attention or using the back of your mind, like, oh, I just exploded keg, so I guess I can go into a Keg Smash immediately. So without like those little like reminders from experience, it's a little bit of like a delay. The other weird thing is like, for example, when I Celestial Infusion, instead of putting it on cooldown for the 40 whatever seconds, it's saying it's 10 seconds, 9, 8. And for some reason, that's because the buff duration is overriding the cooldown duration for some reason. Now, that might be a setting I haven't yet explored yet, hence why I said this is still kind of under construction. But that's like one little annoying thing is like when I'm in combat and I hit Celestial Infusion and then like a few seconds go by and I forgot that I hit it or I know it's on cooldown, but then I look and it's like still available and it's like 6 seconds left. I'm like, holy shit. So then I go to Keg Smash to try to get it off CD and I'm like, wait, why isn't it moving? And it's like, oh, it's because it's not absorbed yet and it's actually just overriding. So that kind of thing is a little annoying. And the same thing happens with the Black Ox. When I invoke the Black Ox, it's going to show that's on cooldown for just 21 seconds, 25 seconds now, it's an 18. And then what ends up happening, which is really weird, is that it eventually, once the cow goes away, doesn't show that it's on cooldown. Now, it did bug out once, or when I was recording this video a little bit ago. So 3, 2, 1, and then it's going to now come off a CD. And as you can see, it looks like it's available again. And then it finally updates after like 3 or 5 seconds there, putting it on cooldown. And so like that's fine, but it's a minor detail that when you do happen to look down at the cooldown at the wrong time and you see that it's available still, you're like, wait, what? I didn't hit it. And then you like start spamming your cooldown again and it's like, oh, it's not available. Because I'm not looking down here at the bottom of my screen. I'm trying to look, I'm trying to maintain my vision on the center of my screen where the mechanics are happening, where the mobs are, not down here at the bottom of my screen where I can't see what's going on. Which is really weird that it happens with these two, because if I use Fortifying Brew, it doesn't happen. It just goes on cooldown, even though I have Fortifying Brew available. So I'm kind of trying to figure out why that's happening, but until then, just gonna have to deal with it. I also have some utility spells being tracked: Leg Sweep, Ring of Peace, Paralysis, Roll, Tiger's Lust, etc. So all of these are being tracked as well, that are available just underneath the health bar. And then finally, on the left-hand side, these are like talent choices, basically, and Touch of Death. I don't like having Touch of Death on my main bar. I don't know why. It's not a functional button that helps me. It's just like a finishing blow for a boss fight, So I like having it off to the side glowing. And Chi Burst and Black Ox Brew kind of depends on the talent build you're running. And if I put it in here, it can't update dynamically based on talent points being taken. And so I just like to have them off to the side, if that makes sense. So when you do talent in or out of them, it doesn't mess with the setup of the central HUD, because you should always have the rest of these abilities on your bar. And then finally, I do have a small buff tracker. Now, the only two buffs I'm tracking that I think are important to decision making is Blackout Combo and Counter Strike. And these things are important if you're playing both of them for purely single target damage, making the decision if you're going to Tiger Palm versus Keg Smash versus whatever other button you're going to hit. And so if you're playing either of these talents, both of them, one of them, neither, your buffs will pop up and they're going to glow to kind of give you that indicator. So once I come into combat and I hit Blackout Kick, you're going to see this buff pop up. And I don't have a cooldown being shown because you're going to probably use it before you Blackout Kick again. So there's no reason to track it. And then same with Counter Strike. When you're running Counter Strike and you dodge an attack, you're probably dodging attack more frequently than every 10 seconds. So there's no reason, but knowing you have the proc active can help you with that decision-making process. So, yeah, that is basically the breakdown of my ArcUI profile. Now I'm not making it available yet. Sorry if I am blue balling anyone, but I'm not ready to share it yet because I am not happy with some of the things and how it's working. I still want to experiment a little bit more and figure out how I want to have things positioned, if I'm going to move around the bars at all, if I might go a different direction, maybe with a different add-on. If you have any suggestions for add-ons, of course, leave them down below, and I'd love to check them out because I am trying to figure out my UI going into midnight. Last but not least, I did want to give an honorable mention to some of the other add-ons I have been using that are working, just fine. I have been using details. It just gives a cleaner finish. You still can't get as much details as you used to be able to from, details. It's basically just a reskinned damage meter of blizzards, but at least it has a kind of cleaner look to it to match the aesthetic of the UI. I'm also using Bartender, which has a little bit more agency over the way that the bars look, being able to hide or show macros, for example, or keybind. So I have all these keybound, but they don't look like they're keybound because they are, obviously, I have them hidden. Being able to hide things like bag bar, micro bar, status bars. I like getting rid of all of those kind of things using Bartender as well, the Blizzard art bar. So it makes it a little bit more cleaner. I'm not a fan of using LVY. I think some people confuse it with LVI because LVI can have a cleaner look. But I'm just not a fan of the add-on. I've tried using LVI in the past. It's just overwhelming for me. And then lastly, I am using SexyMap as well. Besides that, no other real add-ons. I'm also using an action tracker. And so yeah, those are kind of my updates to my UI. So I will eventually make my UI available to you guys. Until I have it ready, I don't want to export the string and then I'm going to make a bunch of changes and then you guys have an outdated version or a version that isn't the way that I want it to work, if that makes sense. So I will make it available and it should be available before midnight. I'm still workshopping some of the kinks out. So let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you think of my UI. And of course, if there's any add-ons you'd like me to kind of test out or you recommend, leave them down below and I'll give them a look. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Yeah, peace.